What if Rimuru's omni versal journey? By IJM_1001. What if the supreme deity Rimuru visited different universes? Rimuru has become Veldanava's successor, but unlike Veldanava, Rimuru, being bored, decides to go on an adventure to interact with other universes, becoming more powerful and having fun as he does so. Misfit of a Demon King, Chapter 24. As Rimuru was traveling between universes, he asked Sile, "So my love, where are we going now?" Sile replied, "We are visiting an old friend of yours." "An old friend?" Rimuru asked. "Do you mean we're going to see him?" "Indeed," Sile answered. "He has resurrected and is now living among his race." Rimuru smiled. "Ooh, I wonder what his new family is like." In Delsgade, the lands where the demons preside, we see the Demon King, Anos Voldigode, with his friends Misha, Sasha, Lay, and Misa. They had just finished another day at school and were on their way to Anos's home to have dinner with his family. When they arrived, Anos opened the door and announced to his mother and father that he was home. To his surprise, however, he didn't get a response and could only hear his family's laughter and chatter coming from the dining and kitchen area. When Anos and his friends walked in to see what was going on, the sight of his mother, father, and a blue-haired individual laughing could be seen. Anos's mother and father were showing this individual baby photos of Anos, and the group was laughing hysterically. Anos, seeing this, just closed his eyes and smiled at the sight before him. Anos's friends were all desperate to find out who this person was, with Sasha inquiring, "Do you know this girl, Anos?" Sasha asked. Anos replied, "I do, but I wouldn't let him hear you call him a girl." Sasha gasped, "Wait, no way. He's too pretty to be a boy." As Anos and his friends were talking, the blue-haired individual pointed out to his parents that they had company. "Oops, it appears we are not alone." Anos's parents quickly turned their gazes to the doorway, only to see Anos and his friends. Seeing this, Anos's mother, Isabella, rushed to Anos and hugged him as she said in a gleeful tone, "Anos, my baby, how was school?" Anos smiled as he said, "School was good, Mom." Isabella asked, "Are your friends joining us for dinner?" "Yes, is that all right?" Anos replied. "Not a problem. Your friend there warned me that might happen, so I made sure to make extra," Isabella said. All of Anos's friends just turned to the individual in question with inquisitive looks. Anos just smiled as he said, "Aha, not surprising." Anos and his friends went to join this individual at the table, but before that, Anos's father, Gusta, stood up, walked over to Anos, and said in a cheerful tone, "Your friend there is a great guy and quite funny. I don't know where you managed to find so many great friends, but I'm happy for you, son." Anos replied, "I appreciate that, Dad. I'm extremely blessed to have such good friends." Gusta then walked off to join Isabella in the kitchen, leaving Anos and the blue-haired individual just smiling and staring into each other's eyes in a heated deadlock. Anos was the first to speak in a patronizing tone, "Took you long enough, Rimuru." Rimuru countered, My, this coming from the guy who took 2,000 years to reincarnate." Anos smirked, "True enough, but this coming from the guy who took 2,000 years just to travel to this universe. What's wrong? Is old age getting the better of you?" Rimuru and Anos just continued their heated deadlock, with Sasha, Misha, Lay, and Misa just observing their interaction. The atmosphere was tense until Rimuru stood up, and in a joyful way, both Rimuru and Anos shook hands. Rimuru smiled as he said, "Still the same as always, Anos." Anos smiled as well, replying, "Right back at you, old friend." As Rimuru and Anos continued their friendly banter, Sasha finally had enough and asked the question everyone else had on their minds, "Okay, enough of this. Anos, who is this person? You clearly know each other." Lay, who is the reincarnation of the hero Canon, also asked, "I don't remember him from our time. Is he another reincarnation?" Anos and Rimuru both snickered, and Anos said, "It appears our bantering has gone on for too long." "Ahaha, apparently so," Rimuru agreed. Anos introduced him, this here is Rimuru, and he is an old friend of mine from 2,000 years ago. Rimuru waved. Yes, hello everyone, I am Rimuru Tempest. It's a pleasure to meet you all. Misa gasped, no way, so he's from the time of the Great War. Lei pondered, I don't remember a Rimuru from the Great War. Anos explained, you two never met, but you might have heard of his nickname, the Demon Dragon of Darkness. Lei's eyes widened upon hearing that nickname, and he said, you mean you're the Demon Dragon of Darkness? I had heard that you once wiped out an entire army and its captain in a sea of darkness. The spies that witnessed that incident were left petrified from the sight. Rimuru laughed, ahaha, yes, well, that was a long time ago. I only did that as a favor to Anos here. Rimuru then stepped forward to Lei and put his hand out for a handshake, saying, it's nice to finally meet you, Hero Canon. Or is it Lei now? Lei reciprocated the gesture as he stated, it's Lei now, and it's nice to meet you too, Rimuru. Anos's friends then introduced themselves one by one to Rimuru, and then the group sat down at the table to continue their talk. However, Misha had a question that had been bothering her since Anos mentioned it. Mr. Rimuru, I have a question, Misha said. Rimuru replied, please call me Rimuru. What's your question? Misha asked, Anos mentioned before about traveling between universes. What did he mean? Rimuru then looked at Anos as he said, you did say that. Well, I think it's only fair you explain to them. Anos nodded, fair enough. Rimuru here is not from our world, or in fact, any world in our universe. Sasha blurted out, wait, what? How is that even possible? So, where are you from then? Rimuru looked at Anos and teased, boy, she's a feisty one. Anos laughed, ahaha, you can say that. Sasha snapped, hey, can you both quit talking about me like I'm not even here? Rimuru smiled, well, Sasha, to answer your question, I'm from a place that is connected but at the same time separate from all universes, called the Cardinal World. Misha asked, can you explain? Rimuru continued, sure. Picture a tree with millions of branches. Now, the tree itself is my universe, and all the branches are different universes. These branches are separated by barriers, and in between these barriers is nothing but the void, a place where logic is non-existent. While it's impossible for universes to ever intertwine, all universes are linked by the stalk of the tree. Everyone, now being granted deep insight into how creation works, was left speechless. Lei spoke up, I have some questions if you don't mind. I don't. Go ahead and ask, Rimuru replied. Lei asked, okay, since your universe is the stalk of the tree, what happens if your universe ends? Rimuru answered bluntly, simple. If my universe dies, so does everything else. Everyone was mortified to find out this bombshell, with Lei swallowing his saliva nervously. Rimuru, seeing this, tried to put them all at ease, stating, not to worry. Although in the past we had some issues where that nearly happened, I am alive, so it will never happen. Lei continued, well, that leads me to my second question. How come you can cross over between universes? Just who exactly are you? Rimuru smiled cheekily before stating, just an old man passing by. Everyone was left confused except Anos, who knew Rimuru's true identity. The night continued with Isabella serving spaghetti and Anos's favorite, mushroom gratin. Everybody enjoyed the food, and after they had finished eating, everyone went home, leaving just Anos and Rimuru. Isabella and Gusta offered Rimuru to stay the night at their place, to which Rimuru gladly accepted. After everyone had left Anos's house, Rimuru and Anos went out to the backyard to have a discussion. Anos noted, I've been meaning to ask, what's up with your eyes? They weren't like that the last time I saw you. Rimuru shrugged, oh, just something I acquired on my travels. Anos then took a more serious tone as he asked, so, what are you doing here this time? Rimuru laughed, ahaha, worry not, nothing like last time. I'm just traveling and decided to stop by to see an old friend. That's a relief, Anos said. I was getting ready to face another evil god. Rimuru smiled. Ahaha, now for my question. I see you're stronger than 2,000 years ago. What's going on? Anos answered, astute as always. I pass my limitations during reincarnation. Rimuru nodded, I see. Well, that's good. Truth be told, I've sensed a lot has changed in this world. You're going to need all the power you can muster to handle it. Anos was left with mixed feelings from the last part of Rimuru's sentence, but they ended their conversation and turned in for the night. Chapter 25, Training? The following morning, Rimuru and Anos made their way downstairs to see Misha was already there and was getting an earful from Isabella as she bragged about her son. Misha then greeted Anos and Rimuru, and the two then joined her for breakfast. Anos noted, You're here quite early, Misha. Misha replied, Yes, you said we were going to train today since it's summer break. Yes, I remember, Anos said. Rimuru chimed in, Ooh, training, who? Well, I would also like to join you lot in this. Anos smiled, You are more than welcome to, Rimuru. It may prove interesting. Both Anos and Rimuru smiled at each other in a devilish way until the sounds of Lei and Misa entering could be heard. The two greeted everyone and then joined the group at the table. Anos asked, So, where's Sasha? Misha answered, She's still asleep. I tried to wake her, but she didn't wake up. Anos stood up, I see. Well, I think it's only right we go wake her up then. When Rimuru and Anos finished eating, the group got ready to depart for the forest to start their training. But before they could start, Anos and Misha had a quick errand to run, so Anos asked Rimuru. Rimuru, could you take Lei and Misa to the forest and wait for us? Shin, Eleanor, and Zesha should already be there waiting for us. Sure, Rimuru replied. With that, Rimuru teleported himself, Lei, and Misa to the forest, leaving Anos and Misha behind. Anos turned to Misha, Well, shall we go get Sasha up? Misha nodded, and so Anos teleported them into Sasha's room. Sasha was still fast asleep, and seeing this, Anos sat on the side of her bed as he called out, Sasha. She then slowly opened her eyes, only to see Anos sitting next to her. Anos then continued to speak, saying, About time you got out of bed, or I'll have to shake you out. Sasha, still half asleep, asked, It's morning already. Anos teased, Have you forgotten your master's face? Oh, I'm dreaming, Sasha mumbled. She then pulled her covers up more and was about to go back to sleep. Anos countered, Don't think I'll just let you sleep in front of me. Sasha blushed, Whatever. If you're going to be like that, then I won't get up unless you hold me. I don't care if it's a dream, this is on you. Anos smiled, Have it your way then. Anos then clicked his fingers, and Sasha was suddenly in Anos's arms in a bridal carry position. Sasha was blushing up a storm as she stared into Anos's eyes. Anos then asked, Now what? I'm holding you. Honestly, you can't even wake yourself. I thought you didn't want to be treated like a child. Sasha, now finally coming to, asked out of confusion, Wait, hold on. Anos, why are you here? Anos replied, To wake you up, or did you forget the promise we made? Besides, we have training today, and everyone's already waiting for us. Sasha sighed, I see. Well, then, good morning. Sasha then started to get dressed, and then the group teleported to the forest where everyone had been waiting for them. Once Anos and his group arrived, the sight of Shin and Lei crossing swords could be seen, while Rimuru, Misa, Eleanor, and Zesha were watching from the sidelines. Sasha noted, They've already started. Anos smiled, They certainly are spirited. Agreed, Misha added. The group then walked over to Rimuru and Misa, with Rimuru yelling, Geez, about time you guys got here. Anos replied, Sorry, we had a troublemaker to wake up. Anos looked at Sasha as he said so. Seeing this, Sasha was slightly embarrassed as she said, Hey, that's not fair. Rimuru smiled cheekily, Ooh, I see now. At this time, Lei and Shin noticed Anos' arrival, stopped their duel, and joined the group. Anos then looked at everyone and said, "Well, now that we're all here, shall we begin?" Sasha asked, Anos, how do you intend to train us all?" Rimuru intervened, "You know, I can help with that. I've got some people that would be perfect to help you all train." Everyone looked at Rimuru with inquisitive looks until Anos asked, "Are you sure they're up to the task?" Rimuru smirked, "Please, for them, magic is as easy as breathing." "Very well," Anos agreed. With Anos' approval, Rimuru stuck out his hand as he commanded, summoning. Suddenly, a large magic circle was formed, and out came 4 individuals with massive auras, shrouded in darkness. When the darkness subsided, the 4 individuals were revealed to be the primordials, and all of them kneeled to Rimuru. Diolo spoke first, "We are honored to be called upon by you, Lord Rimuru. Whatever you wish shall be done." Everyone observing this could only think to themselves, did he just call him Lord? Just who is this guy? Rimuru commanded, "I have a task for you all. I want you to help train this lot in magic." The 4 primordials all looked to see who Rimuru was talking about. With their analytical and sensing abilities just behind Rimuru and Sile, the primordials were all intrigued by these students. Diolo bowed, "Very well, my lord. This is but a simple task for us." Rimuru directed, "Good. Ultima, I want you to train Eleanor and Zesha." Ultima replied, "As you wish, Lord Rimuru." "Carrera, I want you to train Misa," Rimuru said. Carrera grinned, "As you wish, Lord Rimuru." Carrera then smiled wickedly at Misa, making her nervous and causing her to tense up from the sight. Rimuru continued, "Testarossa, I would like you to train Sasha and Misha." Testarossa smiled, "With pleasure, my lord." Lei then asked, "What about me?" Anos then answered, stating, "Obviously, Shin will be your teacher." Everyone then went their separate ways, each student following their respective teachers. Leaving Rimuru, Anos, and Diolo behind, Rimuru then asked Anos, "Well, shall we find a better spot to overwatch them?" Anos agreed, "I think we shall." The group then teleported to a hillside to overwatch the group's training. Rimuru then formed a table and chairs for them to sit on, and when all the groups had found a spot to start their training, Rimuru put up his Argos spell so he and Anos could observe their training in more detail. Chapter 26, Primordial Training. The group's training had now begun, and everyone proceeded to engage in mock battles. Ultima was training Eleanor and Zesha. Eleanor specialized in Digilia, which was a special barrier magic that combined the 4 elements of fire, water, earth, and wind. Once combined, it granted a boost in power to all allies inside, while at the same time weakening all enemies. Zesha specialized in mirror magic. This magic had the ability to create thousands of mirrors that could multiply a spell thousands of times over, meaning one spell could be launched thousands of times at once. Her mirror magic also had the ability to redirect enemies' magic away or back at them, making her magic very useful and deadly. With Eleanor's barrier in place, the 2 were a formidable pair. Ultima found the 2 of them very interesting and found Zesha's mirror magic very intriguing. Meanwhile, Carrera had started her training with Misa. Misa had transformed into her Demon King form, which greatly increased her magical output and capacity. Misa was an interesting one, being the daughter of the Spirit Queen Lino and Shin, the right-hand man of Anos, making her half demon and half spirit. This meant she could wield both demon magic and spirit magic. Because of this, Misa could launch powerful, wide-ranging attacks one after another, making Carrera the perfect instructor for her. Both of them were launching powerful magic at each other that cancelled out upon impact. Testarossa had also begun her training of Misha and Sasha. Immediately, Misha and Sasha used Dino Jixes, which was the ability to fuse together and become one. Once fused, not only did their magic capacity skyrocket, but Misha's Eyes of Creation and Sasha's Eyes of Destruction fused together, garnering a massive power boost. Together, they were comparable to a god of this world. Testarossa was intrigued by the girls' fusion and started by probing for their weaknesses, launching beginner-level magic at them to test the waters. But to her surprise, the girls activated their Eyes of Destruction, which destroyed Testarossa's spell before it even got close to them. Testarossa couldn't help but smile wickedly as she yelled, "You girls really are full of surprises." As the Demoness trio began their training of the girls, Shin began his training with Lei. To be more precise, the word training wasn't really accurate to explain what was going on. Lei's training was more like a one-sided beatdown, with Lei dying multiple times over and being resurrected again and again. You could say Shin held a bit of animosity toward Lei for dating his one and only daughter, Misa. While the groups were in the midst of training, Rimuru and Anos were comfortably observing them through Rimuru's Argos spell, being served tea by Diawlo. Rimuru noted, "It seems your subordinates are already quite capable, Anos, and they're quite an intriguing bunch." Anos replied, "I would have to agree with you. Although they seem to be lacking when it comes to your subordinates, Rimuru, they still have room to grow." Rimuru laughed, "Ahaha, well, that's only to be expected. They've all been around for far longer than yours have. Although I gotta say, those girls, Misha and Sasha, interest me the most out of your group." Anos nodded, "Yes, they are also a bit of a mystery to me as well. I suspect they're reincarnates from 2,000 years ago, but at the moment, neither of them has any memories from that time." Rimuru pondered, "It certainly is possible. When fused together, those girls have the power of a god in this universe. All they lack is experience and understanding." Anos agreed, "Yes, I tend to agree with you." Rimuru's gaze then turned to Lei, and with a disappointed tone, he said, "Must say though, that hero canon is quite underwhelming. I was expecting great things from him considering how highly you used to hold him. But he has already died more than 3 times now." Anos sighed, "Yes, I agree. Although he is a master swordsman, without a blade, he seems to be powerless." Rimuru and Anos then both took a sip of their tea, and Anos couldn't help but praise Diawlo for his talent, stating, "Diawlo, was it? Must say, your talents for making tea are certainly the best I've tasted." Diawlo laughed softly, "Kufufu, of course. Such a task is minuscule, and my lord only ever deserves the best." Anos smiled, "I see you got yourself quite the caring subordinate, Rimuru." Rimuru replied, "Well, Diawlo is a special case, but out of all the demons that serve me, Diawlo here is the first and has been with me the longest. Anyway, it appears things are wrapping up now." Upon Rimuru saying so, both Anos and Rimuru turned their gazes back to the screen to watch the outcome of the mock battles. For Ultima's group, Ultima wasn't affected by Eleanor's barrier even in the slightest. After she evolved to become a demon lord, Ultima gained resistances to nearly all attacks and weakening spells. Ultima had quickly discovered that Eleanor was a weak link, and when it came to actual combat, she was quite hopeless. So, in an instant, Ultima appeared behind Eleanor and knocked her out with a swift chop to the back of the neck. The only one left was Zesha. Ultima, throughout the mock battle, had been probing for weaknesses in Zesha's mirror magic. Ultima first started by launching elemental attacks, but each attack was getting deflected. So, Ultima tried stepping things up a notch by launching nuclear magic and found a portion of Zesha's mirrors had melted away. This immediately made Ultima realize that Zesha's mirrors can't deflect every attack. If the strength of the attack exceeds what the mirror can endure, then the mirror will break apart. Now knowing this, Ultima bombarded Zesha with nuclear magic from all directions, instantly ending the fight upon doing so. Next to finish was Carrere. Out of all the groups, Carrere was having the most difficulty with Misa in her Demon King form. Misa was comparable to that of a high-ranking demon peer from their world, being both adept in magic and physical attacks. All Misa lacked was the experience that comes with immortal beings, and compared to a primordial, she was sorely outclassed in that regard. Carrere was also holding back her most dangerous magic so as to not accidentally kill Misa. Saying all this, Carrere decided to show Misa an attack she was proud of and materialized her golden gun. She then shot a bullet aimed at Misa's shoulder. As the bullet made its way to Misa, she tried desperately to form as many magic barriers as she could, but Carrere's golden gun defies the laws of the omniverse, and only a couple of barriers in existence can actually block it. As the bullet made contact with Misa, just grazing the top of her shoulder, Misa was left temporarily stunned. Carrere, seeing this, made her move and appear behind Misa in a flash, delivering a devastating punch as she wrapped her fist in her aura, sending Misa crashing into the ground and knocking her unconscious. Last to finish was Testaross's group. Testarossa wasn't having much difficulty with the fused form of Misha and Sasha. Although the girls were certainly powerful, they were still very inexperienced when it came to actual combat, and they hadn't truly mastered or even come close to understanding their own powers yet. So, after toying with the girls for a while, Testarossa decided to end their fight. She had already figured out that although the girls' eyes were powerful, if they couldn't see or sense an attack coming, then their eyes would be rendered useless. So, Testarossa started by obscuring the girls' view by launching a meteor at them. While the girls dealt with the meteor, Testarossa set a trap for them. As soon as the meteor was dispelled, Testarossa launched a formation she had set up while the girls were distracted. Nuclear cannons fired in all directions, and all spells were converging on the girls' position. Misha and Sasha managed to dispel a few of the spells, but they couldn't counteract all of them and were hit with a few massive explosions, sending them crashing into the ground and rendering them unable to get back up. It was then when Dino Jix's finally wore off, and the girls went back to their normal selves. Seeing as the battles were all done, Rimuru looked at Anos, saying, "Well, it appears they're done now. Shall we go?" Anos replied, "Yes, it's probably for the best." Rimuru then put the table and chairs away in his imaginary space, and then Rimuru, Anos, and Diolo teleported to the center of the forest. Once there, Rimuru cast healing magic on everyone present, and the group slowly started making their way back to Rimuru and Anos. Chapter 27, Demon vs. Dragon. As everyone healed from their injuries and made their way back to Anos and Rimuru, the both of them waited patiently until everyone was present. Once they were, Rimuru began giving everyone feedback on their performances. "Every one of you has great potential for further growth in your futures, so be proud of that," Rimuru began. "Now, first, Eleanor and Zesha. Eleanor, while your support magic is admirable, you need to start practicing combat magic. Without Zesha's mirror magic, you would have been done for in an instant." To Rimuru's words, Eleanor could only look down, disappointed in herself as she said, "I understand." "Hey, no need to look so depressed," Rimuru reassured her. "This is what training is for, so you can learn from your weaknesses and improve upon them." Rimuru then turned his gaze to Zesha and said, "Zesha, your mirror magic is truly something to be proud of. All you're lacking is experience. So keep practicing, and in the future, your magic will soar to new heights." Zesha was happy to hear the praise and couldn't help but feel slightly embarrassed as she said, "Thank you, sir." Rimuru couldn't help but smile, seeing Zesha embarrassed and finding it cute. He then turned to Misa and gave her his feedback. "Second, Misa. Misa, you are already very powerful, so be proud. But like Zesha, all you need is experience and practice to truly unlock your full potential." Misa, feeling a new sense of determination, answered, "I will. I don't want to be a burden anymore, so I will do my best." "That's the spirit," Rimuru smiled. "Now then, Misha and Sasha. Your fusion magic is beautiful and powerful, but you too have a bit of work to do. While you both lack experience, your main issue is that both of you don't seem to fully grasp or understand your own powers all that well. So, my suggestion for the both of you is to practice and meditate. Search deep within yourselves and fully understand what makes you, you." Misha was calm as always as she answered, I understand." However, Sasha was a bit more hot-headed as she countered, "I understand what you're saying, but why should I even listen to you? I barely even know you." As soon as Sasha said that, the primordials all began to radiate killing intent toward her, clenching their fists and ready to strike at any moment. That was until Rimuru snapped them out of it with a laugh. "Aha waha. True enough, you don't have to take my advice, but I suggest you do. Only by understanding oneself can one truly soar to new heights." Sasha didn't respond and just contemplated Rimuru's words. It was then that Rimuru turned to Anos and asked, "Well then, shall we start your training, Anos?" Rimuru looked at Anos with a devilish smile, to which Anos couldn't help but smile back in the exact same way. "Aha, I thought you would never ask," Anos said. Everyone hearing this could only think to themselves, he's going to fight Anos. All except the primordials, who smirked, and Shin, who had seen Rimuru and Anos fight in the past. Before anything started, Rimuru teleported everyone to the hill where Anos and he had been watching everyone's mock battles before. He then cast a barrier around the entire forest so no one could interrupt. Rimuru and Anos then took to the skies and hovered in position. Both of them could barely contain their excitement, with Rimuru stating, "I've been looking forward to this ever since I came back to this universe." Anos replied, I feel your sentiment, old friend. It's been 2,000 years since our last bout." Rimuru and Anos continued to stare at each other, smiles plastered all over their faces as evidence of their excitement, both waiting to see who would make the first move. As the two were about to start their fight, back with everyone else, Misha couldn't help but ask, "I wonder who will win." Sasha answered carkily, "Anos, obviously." But to their surprise, Shin was the one to speak up, stating, "I wouldn't be so sure of that." Shin's words got everyone's attention, and Sasha couldn't help but ask, "Ooh, and what makes you say that?" Shin explained, "Because Rimuru is the only person I've ever met that can fight Lord Anos. Their last fight was decided to be a draw, but I feel that Lord Rimuru went easy on Lord Anos." Shin's words made everyone realize just how powerful Rimuru truly was to be able to fight Anos to a draw. Just then, suddenly, Rimuru and Anos began. Both of them flew at each other at high speeds until their arms collided. The force of the impact caused a massive shockwave of wind that nearly knocked the onlookers off their feet. The two of them continued to smile devilishly at each other as they began a battle of martial arts, throwing lightning-fast kicks and punches. All of this was just a warm-up to get them going. The shockwaves alone caused by their strikes could be felt throughout the entire forest. Anos went to throw a heavy punch at Rimuru, but Rimuru caught his fist and, using Anos' own momentum, threw him over his shoulder. Anos went crashing into the ground, causing a massive crater. As Anos stood up and dusted himself off, he looked up only to see Rimuru still high in the sky, smiling down at him. Rimuru taunted Anos, gesturing for him to come on, so Anos shot back up into the sky to be eye level with him. Now getting more serious, Anos launched Geo-Graze. Hundreds of fireballs that had the power of miniature suns were all launched at Rimuru. Rimuru smiled as he stuck his hand out and called out, "Hell Flare!" Suddenly, a massive ball of black flames encompassed the spheres of Geo-Graze, returning them to nothingness. Anos then launched Geno-Avis. Black fangs of lightning shot toward Rimuru with the purpose of ripping his soul apart. Rimuru, seeing this, launched Destruction Storm. Purple lightning of the highest order shot out, and upon making contact with Anos' spell, caused a massive explosion. Rimuru then decided to go on the offense, launching Ice Prison. Thousands of ice spears, each the size of a boulder, were fired at Anos. Anos countered with Geo-Glaze, sending thousands of meteors descending to cancel out Rimuru's ice spears. The impact caused a massive amount of steam to form as the ice melted instantly against the meteors. Rimuru and Anos both cleared the steam from their view and decided to ramp things up even more. Both of them then summoned their swords, with Anos calling forth Veldanava, the Sword of Destruction, and Rimuru summoning his Null, the Sword of Tempest. The two continued to smile wickedly at each other, thoroughly enjoying themselves, before charging forward and entering a heavy sword lock. While Rimuru and Anos' fight continued to rage on, Anos' friends couldn't believe what they were witnessing. The level of magic and strength being shown was on a whole other level, leaving everyone mesmerized by the scene before them. Sasha was the only one able to speak as she unconsciously muttered, "Unbelievable." Everyone felt the exact same way, until their train of thought was broken by the sound of a mischievous laugh coming from behind them. When everyone turned to see who it was, their eyes landed on Diablo. Sasha asked, slightly annoyed, "What's so funny?" Diawolo replied, "Kufu fufu. You misunderstand me, little one. Your reaction earlier was only natural when witnessing Lord Rimuru's greatness." Sasha countered, "Ooh, while I admit Rimuru is strong, Ainos is stronger. If he was to get really serious, Rimuru wouldn't be able to do a thing." Diawolo laughed again, "Kufu fufu. You're clearly not a good judge of strength then. If Lord Rimuru was even the slightest bit serious about this fight, your universe would be nothing more than specks of dust. Lord Rimuru is, after all." Just as Diawolo was about to finish his sentence, Testarossa called his name and gave him a stern look. Diawolo immediately realized his mistake in revealing too much and adjusted his statement. "It appears I got a bit too carried away with myself there, talking about Lord Rimuru." The group of friends was curious to find out what Diawolo was about to say, but they decided to leave it and continued to watch the fight. Rimuru and Ainos' fight was becoming even more intense, with both of them swinging their swords with deadly intent. Rimuru decided to test Ainos a little, launching a projectile slash infused with a small portion of his aura. As the aura slash made its way to Ainos, Ainos cut it cleanly in half using his sword's annihilation properties. Ainos' sword had the ability to destroy anything in existence, well, almost anything. Rimuru, seeing Ainos was now serious and using his sword's full power, decided to honor his opponent by getting slightly serious as well. Rimuru stuck his hand out and muttered, "Zeno." Upon doing so, four massive balls of energy were created. Each was the size of a 3-story house and resembled a glowing star. They surrounded Ainos from all directions and began enclosing in on him. Ainos tried desperately to slash the balls of energy, but it was no use. As soon as the spheres made contact with each other, they exploded with Ainos right in the center of it all. The explosion generated from Zeno was so great that if Rimuru hadn't placed a barrier beforehand, not only would Ainos' planet have been exterminated, but his entire universe would have gone with it. Rimuru had given each ball of energy the power of a Big Bang, meaning Ainos had just taken the impact of 4 Big Bangs simultaneously. The light generated from the explosion was so immense that all the onlookers were left temporarily blinded, squinting their eyes and covering their faces. When the light finally subsided, the entire forest could only be described as a burnt, molten hellscape. The trees and grass were nowhere to be seen. Rocks and boulders were left smoldering and melted, and the ground itself looked like the inside of a volcano. Right in the center of this hellish scenery was Ainos. He was left kneeling on the ground, his mouth and head bleeding, and the top half of his clothes completely burnt away. Everyone seeing this display was left completely speechless. None of them had ever witnessed such an attack before, with this level of sheer destruction, and they had never seen Ainos so badly injured. Just as everyone was taking in the pure devastation, Rimuru appeared before Ainos. Ainos, finding it hard to even speak, laughed exhaustedly before saying, "Aha, aha. I guess I lost this time." Rimuru just smiled before answering, "You did well, my friend. Believe me, out of all the beings in the Omniverse, you are still one of the strongest there is. Not many out there can even claim they can be my opponent, so be proud." Ainos, still breathing heavily, replied, "Aha, aha, that's high praise coming from you." Rimuru looked at Ainos with contentment. "Well, we should end this. Don't want to keep everyone waiting." Meanwhile, everyone watching the fight couldn't hear what Rimuru and Ainos were saying to each other and could only guess. They were expecting the fight to be finished, until they saw Rimuru lift his sword up into a striking pose. All of Ainos' friends were confused and concerned, with Sasha saying to no one in particular, "Wait, what is he doing? The fight's over, right?" Testarossa was the one to answer, stating calmly, "My lord is ending it now." Hearing this, everyone's concern heightened even greater. Sasha desperately pleaded to Testarossa, "Why is he doing this? Can't you stop him? This was just supposed to be a friendly duel." Testarossa simply answered, "No one can stop my lord. If it is his will, then it shall be so." Everyone's eyes widened from shock. Immediately, Sasha turned and ran toward the barrier, screaming at the top of her lungs, pleading to Rimuru, "Don't do it. Please, don't do it. Seeing Sasha's panic, the rest of Anos' friends began to follow her lead, all pleading for Rimuru to spare him. But unfortunately for them, their pleas fell on deaf ears, and Rimuru proceeded to cut Anos' head clean off his body. For everyone watching, it was as if time slowed down as they witnessed Anos die right in front of their eyes. His head was separated, and his lifeless body hit the ground. Following this, Misha and Sasha began to cry. Lei looked down, saddened and angry, while Misa, Zesha, and Eleanor were left completely shocked, their mouths wide open. Chapter 28, Fury of Friends and Lovers. As Anos' friends were still dealing with the shock of seeing him decapitated right in front of them, Rimuru sheathed his sword and put it away. Rimuru then undid the barrier, and immediately, Lei took off at incredible speeds, running toward Rimuru with his sword reared back and ready to strike. As Lei entered Rimuru's vicinity, he yelled with rage in his heart, striking down with all his might, "How dare you, you evil bastard, kill my friend!" However, to Lei's absolute surprise, Rimuru simply caught Lei's sword with 2 fingers in the most nonchalant way, not even looking in Lei's direction as he did so. To Rimuru, Lei may as well have been a baby trying to swing a stick. Rimuru then turned to face Lei and simply flicked him on the forehead, saying mockingly, "So weak." That simple flick caused Lei to be sent flying backward, crashing into the hill where his group was standing, embedding him deep into the hillside. Lei slowly pulled himself out of the crater, thinking to himself, "Just a flick from this guy sent me flying. His strength is ridiculous." Rimuru then yelled at the group, "Is this it? Is this all Anos' friends have to offer upon his death? A few tears, some shocked expressions, and a half-assed attack? I must say, I am thoroughly disappointed." Hearing Rimuru's words, Sasha, who was overcome with grief, couldn't hold it in any longer. She yelled back, "What right do you have to say that? You, who was supposed to be Anos' friend, killed him like it was nothing. You have no right to judge us, who were truly Anos' friends." Rimuru challenged, "Ooh, and what are you going to do about it then?" Sasha glared, "We're going to kill you, and await for Anos to come back to us." Everyone, feeling Sasha's sentiment, readied themselves for a fight. Rimuru, seeing their determination, smiled inconspicuously to himself before saying to the group, "Okay, let's see it then." Sasha turned to the others with a determined look, and they all nodded in unison, letting her know they were with her. Sasha commanded, "Let's go then," and the group charged at Rimuru with fury in their eyes. At first, the group adopted a basic fighting strategy, with everyone launching their own individual attacks. Lei took the front line, unleashing rapid sword strikes. Misha used powerful ice magic, Sasha cast her specialized fire magic, Misa transformed into her Demon King form to launch all kinds of spells, and Zesha utilized her mirror magic, while Eleanor supported everyone with her amplification barriers. Unfortunately for them, everything they did proved to be completely ineffective. Rimuru toyed with them like he was training children, easily dodging, slapping their spells away, or simply tanking the hits, showing that nothing they did had any effect. This continued for about 10 minutes, until Rimuru started to grow bored of the fight. He said to the group, "You're all boring me. Is this all you can muster? Pathetic." The group, realizing their current strategy was useless, decided on a different approach. Sasha only had to look at Misha for her sister to understand exactly what she was thinking. Misha opened a telepathic link with everyone, and Sasha explained the plan. "Everyone, we're going to use guys and give this guy the biggest blast we can muster, but we need some time to prepare. Lei and Zesha, buy us at least 1 minute. When we're ready, I want everyone to channel all the magic power they can muster into guys." Everyone agreed and immediately moved into position. Zesha bombarded Rimuru with fire magic multiplied by her mirror magic, while Lei rushed forward, trying desperately to slash, cut, or stab Rimuru. While Lei and Zesha bought time, Misha constructed a massive castle of ice, and Sasha prepared the guy's spell. Misa and Eleanor channeled all their magical power directly into Sasha to fuel the attack. When it was finally finished, exactly 1 minute had passed, and Sasha yelled, "It's ready." Hearing this, Zesha and Lei immediately retreated to the group and channeled the remainder of their magic power into the spell. A massive cannon formed on the ice castle Misha had built, and everyone's combined power accumulated within it. Rimuru, seeing this, smiled excitedly and yelled, "Ahaha! That's it! This is better! Come at me with everything you've got!" Sasha screamed, "Never underestimate us, you asshole! Now take this! Geo Graze!" The concentrated magic power condensed in the cannon and fired a colossal blast of Geo Graze, packing enough power to wipe an entire country off the face of the map. Rimuru, recognizing the potential danger this blast could cause to the surrounding area, quickly encased himself and the incoming attack inside a heavy barrier. After doing so, Rimuru didn't block, dodge, or protect himself in any other way. He simply tanked the attack with his arms spread wide, as if waiting to be embraced. Upon impact, a massive explosion ensued, and the entire inside of the barrier was covered in flames as hot as the surface of the sun. Anos's group was completely exhausted after expending all their magic power on that last attack, but they eagerly watched to see the outcome. After a few minutes, Rimuru's barrier lifted. To their disbelief, Rimuru was standing there completely undamaged, with only the smallest singe mark on the collar of his clothes. Seeing him unharmed, the group tried desperately to pull themselves up to continue the fight. That was until the genuine laughter of Rimuru echoed through the area. "Ah-ha-ha, ah-ha-ha! Well done, you lot! I can't tell you how long it's been since someone even managed to leave a mark on me. You've all done something truly magnificent." As Rimuru was speaking, the primordials appeared by his side. Testarossa spoke first, saying, "Congratulations on your victory, Lord Rimuru." Diolo added, "Kufu-fufu. Yes, that was a truly splendid exhibition of your might, Lord Rimuru." Rimuru couldn't hide his excitement, showing the primordials the tiny burn mark on his clothing. "Ah-ha-ha, look at this! They actually managed to leave a mark on my clothes." Carrera smiled, "Yes, we can see. It truly is an admirable feat." "I know, right? They're impressive indeed," Rimuru agreed. The group of friends could only stare blankly at Rimuru and his subordinates. They thought to themselves, is this excited over a tiny burn mark on his clothes? Rimuru, catching the expressions on the kids' faces, realized he was getting a bit too enthusiastic. He quickly turned his attention back to them, stating, "Whoops, got a little carried away there. Now then, I should fix this." The group was unsure of Rimuru's intentions, but to their surprise, everything damaged in their fight, as well as Anos's previous battle and their earlier training with the primordials, was restored in an instant, leaving them completely speechless. Rimuru then teleported the group over to him instantaneously. Without wasting any time, he materialized a soul in his hand. It was Anos's soul. With a gentle flick of his wrist, Anos's body was fully reassembled, leaving everyone shocked and amazed once again. Rimuru placed the soul back into the body, and shortly after, Anos woke up and slowly sat up. Anos's friends couldn't contain themselves and rushed to his side, completely ignoring their physical exhaustion. Misha, Sasha, and Zesha hugged Anos tightly, tears streaming down their faces as they cried, "Anos, you're back." Anos smiled, patting each of them on the head. "Of course. I'm the Demon King, after all." The girls continued to weep into Anos's arms for a few minutes, while Lei, Misa, and Eleanor just smiled warmly at the scene. Shin then joined the group as well, walking over slowly. Anos, after getting the girls to calm down, looked up at Rimuru and asked, "How did they do?" Rimuru couldn't hide his joy, stating proudly, "They actually managed to leave a burn mark on my collar." Anos was genuinely surprised. "Wow, that good, huh? Impressive." Listening to Anos and Rimuru chat, the group couldn't help but feel they had been put through some kind of twisted test, sparking a mixture of emotions. Sasha spoke up, asking, "Hey, Anos, how did you know we fought with Rimuru?" Anos explained, "I proposed the idea after I lost my fight. I wanted to see what you all would do when faced with a truly dire situation." Suddenly, Anos was struck on the head by Sasha, who yelled at him, "You idiot. She looked down with tears fresh in her eyes and continued, "We thought you were dead." Anos just smiled, slowly standing up and patting Sasha on the head. "I apologize for the deception, but it was necessary, since I won't always be around to protect you all." Sasha wiped her eyes and demanded, "Please promise me you won't do something like this again." Anos gently lifted Sasha's chin to look into her eyes before stating, "I promise. After all, I am the Demon King, I won't be dying that easily." Sasha began to blush heavily and quickly looked away, muttering nervously, "Okay then." Rimuru just smiled at the sight before him. He then announced, "Well, I think this is my cue to leave now." The group turned to Rimuru, and Anos asked, "Leaving already?" Rimuru continued to smile. "Yes, I think it's best I continue on my journey. Plus, it appears you have everything in order here and have made some truly great companions who care a great deal about you, Anos." Anos couldn't help but smile affirmatively, looking at his friends before answering, "Yes, I tend to agree." "Diablo, Testarossa, Carrera, Ultima, it's time for us to head off," Rimuru commanded. The primordials all bowed and said in unison, "As you wish, Lord Rimuru." The four of them then disappeared in a swirl of darkness, teleporting back to the cardinal world to await their master's next call. Rimuru's gaze fell back on Anos and his group. "Well, it was nice meeting you all. I am eager to see what the future holds for each and every one of you. I will be watching with anticipation." Before anyone else could speak, Sasha surprised everyone by walking forward and prostrating herself respectfully before Rimuru. "Mr. Rimuru, I would like to apologize to you before you leave," she said. "I was arrogant toward you, but you have shown me the weaknesses in myself that I have to overcome in order to grow." Everyone in Anos's group was shocked to see Sasha humble herself so deeply before someone other than Anos. However, Rimuru just smiled contentedly. "You are already on the right track, Sasha. I look forward to seeing your growth in the future." Rimuru then leaned down and whispered into her ear, "Oh, and one more piece of advice. If you want Anos to understand your feelings toward him, you're going to need to be more assertive in the matter, if you catch my drift." Sasha became an absolute blushing mess, completely flustered by what Rimuru's words implied. Rimuru then turned his gaze back to Anos. The two of them smirked, locking eyes in a silent, heated exchange, before Rimuru broke the silence. "Until next time, loser." Anos laughed, "Aha! Well, I may have lost this time, but next time will be different." "Aha! I look forward to that time then," Rimuru replied. The two continued their intense staring contest, until suddenly the tension eased. Rimuru's attitude shifted back to an innocent smile, and he stuck his hand out for a handshake, saying, "Well, until next time then." Anos's smile softened into a gentle one as he shook Rimuru's hand. "Until next time then." After their exchange, Rimuru turned and began to slowly walk away, waving goodbye over his shoulder. Lei stepped forward and asked Anos, "Hey, Anos, just who is Rimuru really? He said he's not from our universe, and not only did he manage to beat you, but he withstood an attack from all six of us combined." It was then that Rimuru, who had been walking away, stopped in his tracks. He began to transform right before everyone's eyes. A dark mist enveloped his body, expanding until it took the massive shape of a dragon. When the mist subsided, Rimuru was revealed in his magnificent dragon form, leaving everyone completely speechless. Rimuru reared his dragon head upward before taking off into flight. As he soared, Anos finally answered Lei's question. "Well, as you can see, Rimuru is a dragon. But more than that, he is a protector, a creator, and a god. Truth is, he is the omniversal dragon that watches over and protects all, and he is the creator of universes." Everyone watched in pure awe as Rimuru's majestic form cut through the sky. Rimuru then fired a massive beam of black and purple energy from his mouth up into the heavens. The beam traveled until it pierced the atmosphere, causing a massive portal to form in the sky. From the ground, a portal spanning several kilometers wide opened up, revealing the vast, beautiful cosmos of deep space. Everyone was mesmerized by the sight, the sheer beauty of space captivating their eyes. Meanwhile, seeing the portal fully opened, Rimuru accelerated his ascension, gracefully flying through the clouds until he entered the gateway and disappeared from their universe. As soon as Rimuru passed through, the portal began to disperse, fading away as if it had never been there to begin with. Anos's group slowly came back to their senses, and Anos announced, "I think it's about time we go eat. I'm sure Mom will be making a feast tonight." As the group began to make their way back toward the house, Anos couldn't help but smile, thinking to himself, "Until next we meet, my friend."